Hello, students, and a warm welcome. I hope each one of you is doing well by the grace of God. Our topic for today is English grammar, non finite verbs. Non finite verbs are verbs that are limited by number, person, and tense. They are verbs, but they do not do or function as verbs. They are like imposters in a sentence. The three types of non-finite verbs are infinitives, gerunds, and participles. Let us understand non-finite verbs in this lesson. In today's topic, let us understand what are infinitives. Verbs can be classified or divided into two categories: the finite verb and the non-finite verb. A verb which is limited by the number and person of its subject is called finite verbs. You'll have already learned the finite verbs. For example, they read the Gita. I am reading the Gita. He reads the Gita. A verb which is not limited by the number and person of its subject, neither changes its form, is called non-finite verb. Example, they like to read the Gita. Reading the Gita, I tried to explain it. He likes reading the Gita. Non-finite verbs are of three kinds. Gerund, the ing form of the verb, which is used as a noun, is called a gerund. Second is the participle. There are two kinds of participles: present participle and past participle. I have been reading is an example of present participle. I have worked is past participle. The next topic is infinitive. The infinitive is the base form of the verb. It is often used with to or without to. Infinitives with to before them are called to infinitives. Let us understand what is an infinitive. An infinitive is a base form of a verb. Okay, though it is formed out of a verb, it doesn't work as a verb. It is one of the three verbals, the non-finite verbs we have in English. Example, David and I agreed to meet at 4 o'clock. To meet is the. So boys, an infinitive is to plus the base form of the verb. Form the negative by placing not before the infinitive. For example, to plus the base form of the verb. I decided to study English this year. I decided to study English this year. And the negative infinitive will be not plus to plus the base form of the verb. I decided not to study chemistry this year. I decided not to study chemistry this year. So, not is added to the base form of the verb. Definition of the infinitives. Infinitives are to plus a verb. That is the base form of the verb. Examples: to sing, to go, to dance. Infinitives are easily recognized because of the preposition to plus the verb. But it is not always that it will have the preposition to. subject plus verb plus to infinitive. I want to study. I is the subject, want is the verb, and to study is the infinitive. Subject plus verb plus object plus to infinitive. I want you to study. I is the subject, want is the verb, and object is you. To study is the infinitive. To plus verb is to study. The other pattern of to infinitive is to plus adjective plus to infinitive. Example, it is too dangerous to go there now. It is too dangerous to go there now. I am too tired to do the task. I am too tired to do the task. Adjective plus enough plus to infinitive. He is strong enough to carry the bag. He is strong enough to carry the bag. Next sentence. She is brave enough to go there alone. She is brave enough to go there alone. The placing of to infinitive. After the verb. Example, I plan to visit my friend. I plan to visit my friend. Plan is the verb and to visit is the infinitive. We need to tell him about it. We need to tell him about it. Need is the verb and to tell is the infinitive. After adjectives, I was surprised to get her letter. I was surprised to get her letter. I am pleased to meet you. I am pleased to meet you. After the first, the second, the third, etc. Next, last only. I was the first to arrive at school yesterday. I was the first to arrive at school yesterday. She was the last to enter the room. She was the last to enter the room. Infinitives after verbs. Certain verbs can be followed by an infinitive. Example, ask, advise, tell, want. I want to get a good grade in my English class. Want is the verb and the infinitive is to get. I told her to go to bed. Told is the verb, to go is the infinitive. Some verbs can be followed directly by an infinitive. Examples, begin, decide, fail, learn, plan, promise, refuse, seem, try. He is learning to spell correctly. To spell is the infinitive. Is learning is the verb. Second sentence. He refuses to be uncomfortable when studying. To be is the verb infinitive and refuses is the verb. Infinitives function in a variety of ways. Infinitives can act like nouns in a sentence. The to infinitive can act as a subject of the sentence, it can act as the object of the sentence, or it can act as the subject complement of the sentence. The to infinitive as the subject of the sentence. To find the right property takes time. To find is the subject, it's acting as a subject. To buy a house you really love is important. To buy acts as a subject. To infinitives act as objects. Example, people may choose to buy a larger house. To buy is an object here. To you can expect to have a longer commute. To have is the object. Edward loves to run marathons. So here, marathons is the direct object of run. Infinitives act as subject complements. A subject complement is a phrase that describes or explains the subject of a sentence. Your goal is to make the investment possible. So the subject is your goal and the subject complement will be to make. Their dream was to have a big kitchen. Their dream is the subject and to have is the complement. Some more examples. To err is human. To err is the subject here. Riff always wanted to act. Wanted is the verb and to act is the direct object. Infinitives following adjectives. Adjectives followed by infinitives often express feelings about the action in the infinitive. Examples: afraid, amazed, excited, fortunate, glad, happy, necessary, proud, etc. Example: they were ready to purchase a home. Now here ready is the adjective and to purchase is the infinitive. It will be necessary to inspect the property. Necessary is the adjective and to inspect is the infinitive. Those are the easiest dogs to train. Those are the easiest dogs to train. To train modifies dogs, which is a noun. He has a great ability to paint. To paint modifies ability, which is a noun. Infinitives as adverbs. They also act as adverbs. They must modify verbs, adjectives, or other adverbs. They act like adverb prepositional phrases. Okay, so infinitives also acts as adverbs. For example, the team was slow to score. To score modifies the word slow. Slow is an adjective. My grandmother has come to stay. To stays modifies the verb come. Keep in mind the difference to the mall and to swim. One is an infinitive and the other is a prepositional phrase. To is followed by a noun, then it is a prepositional phrase. Verbs are about verbs. So to swim is a verbal. What is a zero or bare infinitive? A zero or bare infinitive is an infinitive that is not preceded by the particle to and works as an object complement in the sentence. For example, you may go. There is no preposition to in this sentence. Where do we use bare or zero infinitives? After the object of some verbs of perception, for example, look, see, hear. After the modal auxiliary verbs, for example, may, might, can, could, should, would, must, etc. After the verb phrases had better, would rather, need hardly, etc. After the object of the verbs let and make, except ought or have to. Ought to and have to be written as it is. Let us see some examples. After the object of some verbs of perception, look, see, hear. I saw her compete in a singing competition last week. Now here, saw is the main verb and compete will be the infinitive. She heard me cry in my room. It's very simple. Heard is the main verb and cry is the infinitive. It is not to cry. After all modal auxiliary verbs except for ought to and have to, you can do anything. Do is the infinitive. He should speak less and do more. Here there are two infinitives, speak and do. After certain phrases like had better, need hardly, etc., I had rather starve than beg. Starve is the infinitive. Second sentence, you'd better sleep now. Sleep is the infinitive. After the object of the verbs let and make. In the first sentence, I always let people do what they want. So, the infinitive is do. After the object, let. She does not let me do my thing. So here, again, the object of the verb let is do. Rahul makes me laugh all the time. This is very simple. Makes, the object of the word makes is laugh. So it is, laugh is the infinitive. Let us solve an exercise. Here it is very simple. In the following sentences, underline the infinitives. So now it is very clear to you. The moment you see it is to preposition before the verb, it is a infinitive. But there are bare prepositions also, bare infinitives also, which you have to be careful and understand. The first one is, it is time to go to bed. The answer is to go. To bed will not be the right answer. It is to go. He came to the city to look for work. So here the answer is to look. The third sentence, she is anxious to hear from her mother. To hear is the answer. Fourth sentence, you have the right to remain silent. The answer is to remain. The doctor advised him to quit smoking. The answer is to quit. Keep reading for infinitive examples in different sentences and practice. Our next non-finite verb is gerunds. What is a gerund? A gerund is usually defined as a word ending in ing that is formed from a verb and that functions as a noun. Gerund is also called a verbal noun. For example, I like reading good literature. The word read is a verb which ends with ing and functions both as a noun and a verb. Such words are called gerunds. To form gerunds, use the base form ing of the verb. Don't forget the rules for spelling of ing forms of verbs. Verb plus ing is equal to the noun. For example, work plus ing is equal to working. Pay plus ing will give you paying. Improve plus ing will give you improving. Now let us see the functions. A gerund can be the subject of a sentence. It is always singular. Subject is something that is being discussed. Now, how to find the subject? How will you find it? By asking what word is the sentence telling something about. So, we have to find out what the sentence is telling us about. For example, jogging is good for health. Jogging is the word with ing and we are talking about jogging. It is the subject of the verb. So, it is called as the gerund. Let us see some more examples. The first sentence, choosing a candidate takes time. Now, in this sentence, the verb is takes, the main verb. And then we have choosing. Choosing is the subject of the sentence, is acting as a subject of the verb takes. So, it acts as the subject of the sentence. It answers the question, what takes time? So, it is choosing. Windsurfing is very exciting. The main verb is and subject is windsurfing. Next is traveling might satisfy your desire for new experiences. Satisfy is the verb and traveling is the subject, or it is the gerund in the sentence. The next function is it acts as the direct object. It is a noun that receives the actions of a transitive action verb, generally found after action verbs. You can determine if a word is a direct object by asking whom or what. On their vacation, the residents discovered snorkeling. The verb is discovered and snorkeling is what they did. In summer, Kara prefers swimming. So here the verb is prefers, and what does she prefer to do? Swimming. Sophia likes jumping on the trampoline. Likes is the verb here and jumping is what she does. So in these three sentences, snorkeling, swimming and jumping act as object of the verb. The next function is that of subject complement. Is a noun that appears with a linking verb and tells something about the subject of the sentence. A subject complement will almost always be found after the linking verb. Now, what are the linking verbs? If you remember, boys, you'll have learned what are linking verbs. Am. Then we have are, is, was, were, am been, can be, could be, has been, may be, shall be, might have been. These are all linking verbs. Should have been, right? Was being, were being. Example, what I really like is traveling to other countries. Seeing is believing. One of Leonore's hobbies is sewing. So here, traveling, believing and sewing are act as the subject complement, and they are always or mostly after the linking verb. Now here the linking verb is. Next function is that of it acts as the object of a preposition. As the gerund does the work of a noun, it is used after prepositions. For example, some of the prepositions are about, above, across, after, against, besides, beneath, down, on, in, outside, etc. Let us see some examples. After 3 hours, Steve was tired of studying. After 3 hours, Steve was tired of studying. Here, after is the preposition and the gerund that is used is studying because it is ending with ing. He is excited about playing tennis. What is he excited about? Now here the preposition is about. So about is a preposition and playing is the gerund. My mother is fond of gardening. Here of is the preposition and gardening is, it acts as the object of the preposition. We can't live without eating. Without is the preposition and eating is the gerund. For example, you get good grades by studying hard. Now here by is the preposition and studying is the gerund. Second example, I will go fishing with you tomorrow. Here fishing is the gerund. Gerunds are used after certain verbs. Example, enjoy, I enjoy singing. Fancy, I fancy seeing a film tonight. Finish, we finished preparing for the meeting. Dislike, I dislike waiting for buses. Mind, I don't mind coming early. Avoid, she avoided talking to her boss. This is not a gerund. The couples were dancing all night. Dancing is a verb, part of the verb phrase. What did the couples do? They were dancing. The word dancing is used as part of the verb phrase and is not being used as a noun. Therefore, it is not a gerund. Gerund being used as a noun. This is another example. The swimming coach encouraged the athletes to reach for their own personal best. Swimming here describes which coach. Therefore, in this sentence, swimming is an adjective. It is not a gerund. Gerunds must always be used as nouns. The next non-finite verb that we will see is participles. What are participles? A participle is a verbal that functions as an adjective. It can be in present participle or in past participle. The third one is the perfect participle. Present participles end with ing and past participles usually ends with ed, d, t, en or n. Perfect participles that take the form of having plus past participle and indicate that an action is as completed in the past are called perfect participles. For example, I saw a boy pulling a bag with great difficulty. In the sentence, pulling represents an action which is going on. Such verbs are called present participles. Second sentence, flattered by the praise, the peacock danced beautifully. In the sentence, flattered represents an action which is completed. Such verbs are called participles. And third example, having arrived late, she had to rush to the meeting. Having arrived represents an action which was completed at some past time. Such verbs are called perfect participle. Example, the verb is to rise and the present participle will be the rising sun and the past participle will be the risen sun. To boil, the boiling water is a present participle. The boiled water is the past participle. To cook, the cooking ham is a present participle and the cooked ham will be the past action, so it is the past participle. Participles can be found at the beginning, middle or end of a sentence, but they must be relatively close to the noun or pronoun they modify. Participles are one word. Participle phrases consists of that one word plus modifiers, all the words that refer to that participle. Okay, every word that is modifies the participle is forms the participle phrase. How do we find the participle or the participle phrase? First, we find the subject. Then we find the real verb or the main verb. And then we look for other words that look like verbs. Words ending are the clue. That is, it could be ing or it could be en, ed, etc. Example, the pouring rain drove us inside for the party. Pouring is the participle. It is describing the rain. Avoid getting the participle confused with the real verb. Now here the actual verb is drove. Okay, the real verb or the main verb is drove. So do not get confused with the main verb. Pouring is before or precedes the noun rain, and hence it describing rain, so it is called as the participle. See another example. Known for her patience, Mrs. Williams was his favorite teacher. Known for her patience, Mrs. Williams was his favorite teacher. Known is the participle. For her patience is the modifier. This phrase describes Mrs. Williams. Subject and the real verb or the main verb is Mrs. Williams was. Next example. The marine biologist diving near a reef saw a shark. The marine biologist diving near a reef saw a shark. In this sentence, diving is the participle, near a reef is the modifier. Okay, it's telling you more about the word diving. This phrase describes the subject and the main verb is biologist saw. She heard me sighing loudly. She heard me sighing loudly. Participle phrases may have modifiers such as adverbs. Now here loudly is the adverb. Let us see some more examples. She is writing a poem for him. It means it is in the progressive with the be verb, that is writing. Look at the sleeping baby. This is an adjective. So it is describing the baby. It is in the progressive meaning, that is in the continuous tense. She is a very depressing person. Your depressing is the word that describes the person and it comes before the noun. Let us see some sentences of the past participle. She has kept the car for 10 years. It means the present perfect with have. Okay, so here kept is in the past tense. So it is a past participle. Next, it was he was fired from the company 2 years ago. It means the past progressive with the be verb was. So he was fired. Fired is in the past tense and the task is completed. So it is called as the past participle. My friends are traveling in India. A traveling salesperson came to the door. A traveling salesperson came to the door. Traveling tires me out. Traveling tires me out. Now that we have seen these three sentences, what do you think is the difference between a present participle and a gerund? Let us understand. Present participle acts as an adjective, a modifier. In sentence 2, traveling salesperson, traveling describes the noun salesperson, and gerund acts as a noun or pronoun. And in sentence 3, traveling tires me out. Traveling serves as the Subject of the sentence, thus functioning as a noun subject. Let us solve the exercise. Combine the following sentences using a participle. The students saw the teacher. They entered the class. Answer. Seeing the teacher, the students entered the class. He found his lost bracelet. He was relieved. Now you have to pick out the verb here. So the main verb is found. So finding his lost bracelet, he was relieved. Third sentence. She was strolling in the garden. She spotted a beautiful butterfly. Answer. Strolling in the garden, she spotted a beautiful butterfly. Next sentence. I completed the task. I decided to take a break. Having completed the task, I decided to take a break. He was poor. He could not afford it. So here, in place of was, you'll say, being poor, he could not afford it. Let us solve the next exercise. Pick out the non-finite verbs in the following sentences. So here, the first sentence is, dancing on the stage was a noble experience for me. Dancing on the stage was a noble experience for me. Answer. Dancing is the gerund because it plays the role of a noun. We should never be afraid to protest against injustice. We should never be afraid to protest against injustice. Here, to protest is the infinitive. To protest is the infinitive. Number 3, I am fond of collecting stamps and coins. I'm fond of collecting stamps and coins. Collecting is the gerund. Next sentence. It is an annoying habit which he has. What kind of a habit does he have? Annoying habit. So here annoying is the participle. Next sentence. The boy had a harried expression. The boy had a harried expression. So here again harried describes the expression. So it is a participle. Let's remember, infinitives are verbs preceded by to. Example, to eat, to sleep, to drink. Be careful not to confuse a prepositional phrase for an infinitive phrase. I went to the store. Infinitives can work as nouns, adjectives, or adverbs in a sentence. So keep in mind, infinitives verbs are preceded by to. Gerunds always work as nouns. They end in ing and they can function as subject, direct object, indirect object, subject complement, or the object of the preposition. Participles always work as adjectives. They are verb forms ending in ing, that is a present participle. Ed or ending in en are past participles.